Hey everyone, and welcome back to GISC 125, Mapping and Spatial Thinking. And today we're going to talk a little bit about total fertility rates. So on that note, let's jump right in. So the definition of total fertility rates compares figures for the average number of children that would be born per woman if all women lived to the end of their childbearing years. And so childbearing years are roughly ages 15 to 49. Where you find this statistic can vary a little bit, but it's roughly 15 to 49. And born each children according to a given fertility rate at each age. So replacement level fertility is the total fertility rate. So it's the average number of children born per woman at which a population replaces itself from one generation to the next without migration. So this rate is roughly 2.1 children per woman for most countries. In other words, a country that has a total fertility rate of 2.1 will not be growing or shrinking, but remain stable in size. Of course, this doesn't account for migration. If a country is above the 2.1 replacement level, the population is growing due to more births than deaths. Conversely, if it's below 2.1, there are more deaths than births, so the population is decreasing. Again, we're not talking about migration here. For example, the total fertility rate in 2017 for the United States is 1.87, which is below the replacement level of 2.1. So then, why is the population growing in the United States then? So, there is a fertility rate can be shown for a country. It could also be shown at the state level. For example, in the United States, there's going to be a population, there's going to be a total fertility rate for each state, and you'll see that in your assignment. So let's look at some examples here. And this is a graph that's going to show countries that are part of the Organizations for Economic, Cooperative, and Development. So it's not going to be all countries, but it'll be a good example here. Loading this. So here is this graph, and again, it's not for all countries in all countries, but it's still a good sample here. So as we can see over here, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, down. These are the total fertility rates. These are the number of children born per woman within her childbearing years, and these are the years. So the data goes from 1970 to 2015. And we can look, and if we look at this, what's the general trend? Lots of kids in the 70s for most countries, fewer kids in 2015. So the general trend, and even if some places like sub-Saharan Africa are not in here, but their trend is the same. So the trend is having fewer and fewer kids. So we can kind of click on here, we can go way up here, and we can look at Saudi Arabia. In the 70s and up into the 1980, 7.3 children for each woman. That is a lot of kids. Now, if we put that on here, you can see it's declining. And in 2015, the average woman would have 2.6 children. So that's considerably less. Other countries here, Mexico, it was in 1970s, was 6.7 children per woman, down to 2.2. Here's a skyrocketing down here. China. Now, the interesting thing is you can look at these trends, and these trends are correlated with things, right? Why are the total fertility rates declining? For example, what do you think is causing this big drop in children? China's one-child policy, right? There were 5.6 kids in the 70s per woman. Now it's down to 1.6. Also, you should be aware of that a country having, well, there's problems with a country having lots of children. You know, if you're having 5, 6, 7 children per woman, is going to cause problems in of itself. But if you're having a country that is below the replacement level of 2.1, for example, here in China, 1.6, there's going to be negative consequences as well. So I want you to kind of think about this in your assignments of what some of these negative consequences might be. You look at countries down here, Korea, there are 1.2 children per woman, childbearing years. This is probably South Korea, not North Korea. They're not going to be part of that. Spain, 1.3. So there's going to be some negative consequences. So kind of look into what these negative consequences might be for countries that have very low total fertility rates. So you'll be using this graph. You can find the United States in here somewhere. There's probably the United States right there. So in 2015, we were at 1.8 total fertility rate, and we were at one time in 1970s and 2.5. But you'll be explaining this graph as well, kind of what are the factors that are correlated with these fluctuations of up and down.